Okay guys, welcome back to another video. We're back in Walthamstow, where it all started, where I moved here about 15 years ago and where me and my mum decided to move and change our lives. And this video today is going to be about how sports has changed my life. Now, starting off with, I was never a kid who was, super fit when he was young or anything like that, Fortunately, my mum did get me into sports very young, so that was fantastic. Obviously, I thank her for that. I owe her so much for that. And, I was always a sporty kid, but, growing up, I was never seeing any kind of results and stuff like that. And, we were at that age exposed to people who were very, they had the physiques that we wanted and stuff. And I was just at that phase where I just didn't understand, I was putting in a fair amount of work and, I still had a massive belly, I was chubby. I was looking down at myself, down at my belly, trying to pull my belly in, because I was just insecure, I wasn't happy with myself. And I remember this one day that everything changed. So I remember I was at this JD Sports in Walthamstow, where I actually visited today, just for a kind of memorabilia, kind of reminder of myself and just to see how far I've come. And I remember I walk into this JD Sports. JD Sports, by the way, if you don't know, is a kind of a, JD Sports is a shop where you can buy like sports clothes, Jordan, Nike and stuff like that. But there's this specific one in Walthamstow. I remember I always used to go there and I was like, oh yeah, what's in JD? I love JD and stuff like that. Not Jack Daniels, JD Sports, yeah? And yeah, I remember walking into this JD and I was there to try some shirt on. I don't know, I can't remember if it was Mackenzie or Jordan or something like that, but I think it was a Jordan shirt I was trying on. And I went to the changing rooms into this JD Sports and, I took my shirt off when I was trying this new shirt on. And I will tell you, I looked at myself in the mirror and I cried. I was just so down bad. I was sick of being sick. I was depressed of looking how I was. And by the way, this is when I was 14, 15 years old. And, I was just looking at myself in that mirror and I just said to myself, something has to change here because I'm here crying in the mirror in JD Sports. I'm trying to get my shit together. I'm so unhappy and I'm so depressed and I'm sick of being in this body. I have to change myself, I have to change because I can't let it keep going like this. This is just, if my life is gonna be, this is what I was thinking. If my life is gonna be like this for the rest of my life, it's not a life worth living. So that day, something flipped in my mind, a switch flipped in my mind. I said to myself, okay, from today, we're gonna change everything. We're gonna change the way we do everything because this is not good. Something has to change for my life to change. And little did I know, that was the best moment of my life. One of the best moments and one of the best decisions and one of the best moments of improvement, change I've had in my life. And from that day on, guys, when I tell you I got to work, I got to work. I bumped up the gym. I was going to the gym every day. I was reducing the amounts that I was eating because I was overeating so much, I had such a bad habit. It was, I'd come home, I'd eat, lunch, and then half an hour I'd be back at the fridge again. So obviously something had to change for me to lose this weight, to feel stronger, feel better, and feel more secure about myself so I can stop looking down at my belly every 10 seconds and being like, oh my God, this is not good. And yeah. And again, this is about how sports changed my life. So, I was always a sporty kid. My mum always got me into trying new sports, horse riding, ice skating, snowboarding, all the sorts of martial arts, running, every single sport you can name, I've tried it, roller skating. And, it's just, I can't say how thankful I am to her. So if you watch this video, I thank you for everything and I can't thank you enough. And, you've been everything to me and, without you, none of this would be possible. So, yeah, I've always been a sporty kid, but again, I was never happy with my body. And obviously that JD thing happened and I decided to change it. So from that moment, and I knew I had to change as well because I was just getting constantly bullied at school. I was like, these kids are bullying me for looking how I am. And some of them even looked worse than me. So obviously I didn't even know this at this point, but obviously all of that is coming from insecurity. So I was like, okay, I have to change. I have to prove these kids that I can do it so that they stop bullying me. So I went to the gym. And goodness me, I went to the gym every day. You know, I was benching 100 kilos at 16 years old. You know, I was smashing the gym, and, you know, I was seeing progress. I was seeing so much progress, and I was like, oh, I love this. I love this, you know. I was getting so strong. As I said, 100 kilos. My deadlift was amazing. My squats were amazing. You know, there were people at the gym that I looked up to, so I always had, like, you know, kind of models and people that I wanted to look like in the gym. And yeah, it's just, you know, I smashed the gym every day until I was probably like 18, 19 years old, and boy, did I change. My strength was so strong, you know. By the time I was 18, maybe 19, I was benching, you know, 140 kilos, 150 kilos easily. You know, I looked so much slimmer, so much stronger, you know, that weight, all that body weight. Obviously, I was getting heavier because as you do as a kid, you're still growing. So, you know, I was probably, I was always the heaviest kid. But, you know, now I was the heaviest kid and the strongest kid. So things were changing, you know, and as soon as I, you know, showed and dedicated to myself that, you know, we're gonna do this every day and we're gonna try every day, no matter what. It doesn't matter how much painful, because, you know, pain is just weakness being exercised for the body. You know, it's pain leaving the body. This is you, this is your new growth. That's always the analogy that I had in my brain. So yeah, I was hitting the gym every day, and slowly, as my body changed, as my confidence changed, my energy changed, and my surroundings started changing. You know, my friends stopped talking trash about me. You know, they were like, oh my God, Casper, like, you know, how are you doing this? You know, how are you benching this much? And, you know, how often do you go? I want to know. And, you know, again, like, you know, this just shows, like, if you put work into yourself, and, you know, just like, you know, that I've just said, you know, I used to get bullied every day, and it got to a point where I was just like, something has to fucking change, because I've had enough of this, you know? Like, I was getting to the point where I was like hurting people for bullying me, because that was my defense mechanism coming out. And yeah, it just shows you the power of, you know, if you really dedicate yourself and you put work in to yourself, it just shows you, you know, that everything is possible, you know, but it all has to start from change within. Whether it's, you know, physical, financial, mentally, you know, spiritually, whatever you believe in, it always has to come in from yourself. And yeah, I must say this has been the best change in my life, and, you know, I'm still constantly evolving. This is a journey that's going to last for my whole life. And, you know, again, it just shows you, like, if you change yourself, self from within, your surroundings will always change. So at this point, you know, I'm in university, 18, 19 years old. You know, I've done the 150 bench. You know, I've done, you know, the 210 deadlift. I'm like, you know what? It's like, I think I need to do something different. You know what I'm saying? And luckily, again, thank you, Mum. She put me in karate when we moved to England. And, you know, I kind of stopped at a point where I was 2 belts off black belt. So I thought to myself, you know what? Let me finish this black belt. I really want to do this, you know? So I got right back into it, you know? I made that decision, and within a few weeks, I was back in karate, back at the local club, you know, years later, doing my karate. And yeah, I loved it. It just, you know, it showed me the importance of being flexible and moving, you know, and you know, it's not the gym. The gym is very static and, you know, very kind of stiff. The karate and all the martial arts, you know, that everybody does is, you know, you need to be fit and you need to be moving and you need to be reactive, and it's sometimes very quick reaction. And yeah, and it's just, that journey was amazing. And I remember when I graded to my belt before black belt, of course, I made a promise to myself that, yeah, I'm gonna get this black belt. So I got the Shotokan label, the karate style that I do, tattooed on my tricep. And, you know, that day I knew that I was gonna be a black belt. And today I'm a black belt. So yeah, it just shows you that, you know, if you dedicate yourself to something and you really want something and it's coming from you and you feel good about it, you will always achieve it. If you've always got a reason to change or a reason to do it, you will always do it, you know, and it's never for anyone else. You can never blame any kind of external circumstances, you know, but you can use that as a way to drive you, there's a reason, like, oh, these people are bullying me, they're treating me bad, let's go prove them wrong, you know what I'm saying? So that's exactly what I did. And yeah, I proved to myself, and, to everyone around me that, I'm serious, I'm changing myself because you guys are, there's nothing wrong with you guys, but I'm using your guys' energy, this bad comments that you're making and all of this, to drive myself forward. You know what I'm saying? So I used all of that energy, I harnessed all of that negativity and I used it to create such a positive thing. So again, if you're looking for kind of any motivation like that, just remember, all of this stuff is just getting you to really focus on yourself. Always have a positive outlook on it because, when something negative is happening to you, it's always a good opportunity. It's just getting you to focus on what you want. So yeah, that was very important. And yeah, so the gym has absolutely transformed my life. The gym was just the beginning. Again, the gym wasn't even the beginning. It was my mum getting me into all the sports. It's like she was just preparing me for what was gonna happen in life. And I've done the MMA as well. MMA has been absolutely crazy. Like that sport, I respect everybody who does that sport, even trains it, because that sport is different. That's like that's like, you got to be tough to do that. So I absolutely respect the guys at BST and all the guys there that I train MMA with. And yeah, now I've also, added jiu-jitsu. Now I'm a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. So, again, I remember at the start when I went to jiu-jitsu, I was like, I was watching these people and they're like going, inverting. And I'm like, how do they do that? How do they do that? And I was like, I don't know how, but I'm going to be able to do that one day. You know what I'm saying? Like, not now, but like someday. And now that's all I do, And I was just focused, I was there 5 times a week, 5 times a week, jiu-jitsu, gym, karate. And I was just focused on my goal of getting better and better and evolving my skills and my body, And, again, it's all a learning process, You have to keep moving forward in life, no matter what, There's always going to be sometimes some negative things that's going to happen, but it's the way that you perceive it. A lot of people perceive negative things and things that happen in their life, bad things. They just say, oh my goodness, this is over. This is, how am I going to, but it's always good. This is just getting you to focus on what you want. And, again, it's just, the gym has changed my life. I changed my life. I decided to change my life, and, you guys can change your life. Just make the decision. You have to be sick of being sick and make a decision, and just say, I'm gonna get up every day with a smile on my face. I'm gonna change my life. I'm gonna go to the gym, go to whatever training you're doing, go running, whatever. I've done it all. You guys can do everything. If I can do it, you guys can do it. I promise you. I swear to God. I was there. I remember, going to the fridge every half an hour, trying to quash my, I feel so bad, and, play on the computer all day long and stuff like that, and then I just had to change it because people would, it's just the external, I wasn't getting the respect that I wanted and I deserved. So I said to myself, I deserve more respect, but I have to prove that through building myself. So I built myself, and here we're here today. And I'm very grateful for today. I'm so grateful for the people that I've met and, the people I'm meeting and stuff like that. And, I'm so grateful for my mum, initially introducing me to all of these sports, even though we both know sometimes I really didn't want to go. And again, that all had to happen for me to choose what I really wanted to go into, which was, again, ultimately now that's martial arts. And yeah, I absolutely love it. And I'm looking forward to all sorts of opportunities of development. And yeah. So if you guys, are struggling for motivation, just, remember that, you can change your life. You can, you can, you have the power. You have the power. It's just in you. You need to just do it. Think of it first, and then the actions will come. And then you need to want to do it as well. It takes a little bit of willpower at the beginning, but once you don't have to go 5 times a week to the gym the first time, Just go once a week, and then when you're comfortable doing once a week, you'll go 2 times a week, and then 3 times a week. And then you'll be like, oh my days, I'm like here every day, and I can't, I don't feel any pain, and my recovery is great. And then you just look for more, and you keep growing and growing and growing and growing, And remember, if you're not growing, you're dying. So always have your head up for opportunities. Remember that you can do it because I've done it. That means anyone can do it. Change your life. And do it today, do it now, start now. So yeah, that's my story on how sports changed my life. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, again, give me a like, subscribe. Let me know how I can improve my videos. We're in the lovely park today, so go out and enjoy your day. Go for a walk at least, go and enjoy the world. And again, I know, Mum, you're gonna watch this, so big thanks to you, and you've been everything for me, and I can't say how much, you've done for me, and, and how many more great moments we have in front of us. And yeah, and I want to thank all of you for watching these videos. Whoever watches these videos, I appreciate it. And yeah, have a fantastic day wherever you are. Keep smiling, keep being yourself, keep working on yourself, and remember, you can do it. All right, thank you very much for watching, and take care.